name is Charles. I'm the Senior Manager of Content Marketing here at Foxit. Joining me today is Nate Scander. Is that, I pronounced that right?
Scander. Come on, you're better than that.
Scander. I've only known you for like 2.5 years, but I'm working on it. Nate is the VP of Product and Development for Foxit eSign. We are also being joined by Joshua. Pronounce it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joshua
Dankert. I just want to make sure I'm getting everyone's name right today. Joshua is the CEO and founder of NotaryLive. So for those of you who do not know Foxit, we're one of the top contenders in the PDF software market, and we are widely recognized as a leader in the PDF and e-signature solutions for technology. We are also one of the pioneers in legal and compliant e-signature document workflows. We are being partnered today with the folks over at NotaryLive. You guys are the pioneers in online notarization services and tools.
Correct.
Well, this partnership is going to be bringing together some really powerful integration. So by joining together NotaryLive's features and functionality with Foxit, we're going to be offering users the convenience of instant access to a notary 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which means some really complex workflows are going to be moving a lot faster. Without further ado, I am going to let you guys take it away. I guess this is going to be like part demo. You're going to be showing us how this software works, and it's going to be part Q&A. We're going to have a lot of people, I'm sure, asking a lot of questions about how this stuff works and what it does, and what it means for them just as much as what it means for us. So I'll let you guys go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate the introductions, and in spite of not knowing how to pronounce their names after 2.5 years of working together. All good. So Josh, good to see you again. You're becoming my new BFF. Can you give the audience a brief bio as to who you are and kind of how you came to the evolution of starting NotaryLive? Because I think it's a really cool story.
Sure, yeah. So I'm founder and CEO of NotaryLive. We actually, it's kind of cool how we started with NotaryLive, because it gives us a real world perspective on the benefits of it. We have another company that we own and operate here, and it needed notary services. And we'd been dealing with the traditional issues for years, with traditional notarizations. And I could go on for a while explaining all those, but I think most people at this point understand the issues that go along with having to deal with paper, especially when you have your own users that you rely on giving you that paper in order to finish whatever transaction you're trying to complete. So, being able to streamline that through electronic means is just a game changer. It changes every piece of your operations. So we, back in the day when RON was legalized in 2013, and at that point it was very hard to do anything because most states still didn't accept it because they were very unsure about it. It was kind of it was new. It was notarization's been going on for thousands of years, right? So for thousands of years we've done it one way, and suddenly now there's this electronic means. Like, that was kind of confusing for people. But so we watched the industry or the RON space to see if anything was going to unfold, and then Texas legalized it. So first it was just Virginia, and then Texas was second in line with that, and a couple of other states at the same time. But we had an office in Texas for this other company, and we were like, let's get some notaries. Let's just try it, see what happens. So, of course, back then you think, this is easy. We could just get some, we'll get some notaries and a webcam. We'll see what happens. Of course, it grows legs and gets way bigger than that. But we built it out over the course of a few years, still building it out, I feel like, every day. But and here we are now. We decided to pivot and focus on this almost exclusively. We still work on the other company, but this has been such a game changer for that company that it's allowed us to repurpose resources to spend on this. So like I said, it's been a game changer for us. We now, for this other company, now we don't have to worry about those traditional issues that you experience. Here we are, I think we launched in 2018. And the pandemic obviously accelerated things quite a bit. I wouldn't say from a volume standpoint, the volume was still kind of slow to adopt, but from an awareness perspective, it definitely helped a lot. People were now looking for alternate means to do this, and well, here we are. That we were their answer. So.
So you keep saying the word Ron is who is Ron? What is Ron? Can you explain that to the audience? Because
Sure.
I think it's a name that, in the digital signature space, in the notary space, that we kind of take for granted what Ron is. And he's not just a guy that we used to play baseball with. He actually does something.
Yeah, Ron is actually, he's just a little character that we use. He's got little feet with no arms. No, Ron is it's an acronym for remote online notarization. We use it, pretty, like you said, pretty frequently, but it's just remote online notaries essentially.
And you mentioned the initial adoption or passing into legislation of RON services, and then the slow adoption. We were at ALA together, the Association of Legal Administrators, and legal law offices or administrators, they use notary services all the time. And it was really interesting that so many of them didn't even know what RON was, or that RON was legal. So, can you kind of help the audience understand, you mentioned, 2013, the first legislation, how many states today accept RON, and, are like, just like kind of talk to the audience to that, because I think it's fascinating that, again, like we're so close, like tunnel vision, and being in this world of signatures and compliance. And, it was just shocking that, you would think attorneys or, mortgage processors would know what this is because they do it the most. And I was just, utterly shocked at how many people didn't actually know what it was or that they could take advantage of it.
Yeah, awareness is definitely our key struggle here, but for sure. But your question, sorry, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so like, you mentioned awareness. So like, are there states today that do not allow RON?
Yeah, yeah.
And, just how has that been like journey for you with, everything that's happened? And you mentioned awareness. So what are the things you're doing to overcome that? But let's start with states that don't accept RON.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so this is actually an interesting sticking point that we find. This is actually a big source of confusion. RON is acceptable in every state. So there's reciprocity across all the states. So if you get a document notarized in Texas, whether it's via RON or traditional means, it's irrelevant. It's acceptable in New York, it's acceptable in Florida and California, even though California, for example, hasn't legalized RON for their notaries yet. California they just passed a law recently that they are going to adopt RON in 2030, which is crazy, but still they are going to adopt it. But they actually went a step further and said, just to clarify, you can still use out-of-state notaries to notarize your documents. Whether you're in the state of California or you're accepting documents in California or both, it doesn't matter. You can receive documents and notarize documents in California via RON through some other state that allows it. So that's actually a common source of confusion that California doesn't allow RON, so I can't notarize this document. Well, yes, you can. You just have to use a notary in Texas, for example. So as far as being the signer, you can be anywhere. You can be in Egypt or China. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant where you are as the signer. The laws pertain to the notaries. So take that a step further. There are still, I want to say maybe 8 states that are either don't have RON legalized or they are in the process still of legalizing RON. Most states at this point, though, have legalized the ability for their RONs for their notaries, to notarize online.
Gotcha. No, that's a really great point. That you can accept RON from, a notary service from outside of the state that you're residing in, where it is legal and it is still a legally compliant and legally binding document. I think that's a really important point to take away. In your business, where do you see your mix of your users? Because I personal life, I've had to notarize 1 or 2 documents outside of when I had to have my mortgage and everything. So like, where do you see your predominant use cases? Where does your customer base really like sit, and kind of how do you see that market opening up for you guys?
Yeah, so there's a lot of potential in every market, really, because like mortgage, for example, mortgage has a ton of potential for documents to get notarized, but it's a little harder to adopt because their process is a little more complicated. There's a lot of people touching it, things like that. But currently, our biggest adoption rate is in legal. A lot of attorneys are typically, they're more, they're a little more astute to looking for ways to simplify their process and things like that, make it better for their users or their clients and things like that. So we have our biggest audience so far is in legal for sure. Surprisingly, construction is up there in terms of second or third place. So we see a lot of that, especially in states like Florida that need a notice of commencement notarized. But then when you get into like to less industry specific, it's all over the place. It's really, insurance, for example, car insurance, that's one of our biggest industries. So, but it's the most random thing that you might think of, like what do they need to get notarized? So it's really, over 1 billion documents get notarized in the US alone every year. And only a small percentage are currently being done online. So the availability of the market is just massive, and you name it, like you said, it's all across the board. I mean, whether it's those industries or just general business needs, power of attorney or some sort of affidavit or authorization form, things like that. It's and a power of attorney could be broad, like that. Power of attorney of what, right? So that's one of our most common documents is a power of attorney, and that could literally be, I mean, you name it. There's a million different use cases for a power of attorney.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, the audience, I'm not sure if they're fully aware, but last week is when we officially announced our partnership between Foxit and NotaryLive. So, what excited you guys about working with us? And then I'll answer the same thing about working with you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, for me personally, I'm very heavy into our tech team. I'm very involved with that. I'm kind of a firm believer in you promote yourselves by having a solid tech. So that's primarily what I focus on is that in addition to everything else. But one of our biggest things that we have to deal with is document editing, right? eSign features, things like that. So to now have the flexibility of saying, all right, well, we can now use this other product internally, for me that's a huge advantage for me personally, to not have to deal with that anymore. We can offload that responsibility to someone as advanced as Foxit. So that's been great. And also, it's great to just have a good partner in this space. We complement each other really well. I mean, not to mention how we complement each other from a personality standpoint. We get along really well too. So that's just icing on the cake. But from a technology, from a business standpoint, it's mostly, like I said, the tech piece, but also just having a really good, solid partner that we have similar, interests and similar, drives and motivations and things like that too. So that's all been a big plus for me.
No, yeah, likewise. I think, the alignment on how we view things, and, obviously from a product perspective, being able to solve a pain point for our customers that we don't traditionally solve, I think is really helpful. And, I actually haven't told you this story, but, our first call that we had, the kind of introductory call, and then figuring out the next steps, that was like a 10-minute phone call. And I was talking to one of the guys afterwards, and they're like, that was a really weird call. I was like, no, that was a great call. Like, we figured out what we needed to do. Here's the next steps. Don't waste anybody's time, and moved on to the next thing. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, no, like we see things the same way. Yeah. And so, for us too, it's right, we don't want to build anything to manage on the wrong side of the world, the compliance and just everything else. And if, we solve that customer pain point, and we, solve that, loss of, time and development for you guys to not focus on developing, signing solutions and editing solutions, and focus on innovating on the notary side, it's a perfect win for both of us. So we're really excited about that in general. One question that I know people will always ask, because I get probably 20 questions a day about this: security compliance. Walk through, what you guys do for security measures, compliance, and how that translates to, that world. And, I can talk through some of our security and compliance measures as well that come up pretty frequently in those types of conversations.
Yeah, so I think a good starting point is to kind of remember in the back of your head that, with traditional notarizations, you walk into a person who's likely not seen too many IDs in their life, and they look at your ID, they say, yep, this is valid, and they notarize your document. With Ron, we have to take extra steps, and these are state laws in addition to, industry requirements. The laws are the bare minimum, right? Which is that you have to scan your ID through software that says, yes, this is a valid ID. It checks all the security points to make sure that the hologram matches up, the font is in the right spot and the right, type of font, colors are all matched. It does all that. It reads the barcode on the back, and it compares the information that it reads from the barcode to the front of the ID to make sure that, all right, this is an actual valid ID. So lots of different security checks on the ID itself. Then eventually goes to, assuming they pass that, it goes to KBA, which is the knowledge-based assessment What address do you recognize? Do you know these names? Things like that. You have to answer a certain number of those correctly in a certain amount of time. Assuming you pass that, then you go in front of the notary, and the notary sees on their side the results of all your tests. You have, even though they've essentially, they've in theory passed before they got to you, you still have to present all those results to the notaries. They know the names match up, and that they're now the person holds their phone up to the camera, their ID to the camera, and the notary checks all that to make sure that, all right, this person is, not only have they been technically verified, but I'm also witnessing that they're who they say they are. All that information gets stored through audit trails. The video session gets stored for a period of 10 years. Obviously, the document is now electronically stored, all that stuff. So this whole audit trail is, IP addresses, timestamps, all that gets stored for 10 years, and it's all auditable. So at any point within those 10 years, assuming you have some sort of relationship to that transaction, you have access to that audit trail. So that's a huge advantage.
Yeah. Do you have any the dog ate my mortgage document stories about your digital compliance and stuff like that? Because I see that being a huge factor, because the dog did eat my mortgage document. I'm sorry, Wells Fargo.
Yeah. Oops. There goes that. Yeah, we actually do. We have the most recent one was it was a couple that was getting divorced, and they were in the middle of building a house, and the invoices to that had been notarized, and they were getting divorced, and they were on the hook on who's responsible for paying this bill, essentially. Of course, there were lawsuits involved and things like that. So they subpoenaed us to supply all that information, and it's all in video. You've got the person on video saying, because you have to go through the motions, you got to attest to things, verbally, say I'm sound body of mind, all that good stuff, So it's really hard to dispute this video footage of you signing this document in addition to the document. So, and the document's not shreddable. We have that document, right? We have the original copy that we have to store. So there's.
You said you stored that for 10 years. Is that a compliance number, or is that just something that you guys adopt?
So most states will say between 5 and 10. We just blanket it to 10.
Okay.
Some industries, mortgage industry, for example, they require it to be 10 as well. So we just kind of set the standard to be 10. There's not much of an advantage to get rid of it before that. So 10 years for all of them. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. No, I've been a lot of industries, like 7 to 10 is usually kind of that sweet spot for holding, documents like that. So totally understand.
Yep.
So, going kind of back to, adoption and legislation, how long after, legislation is passed in states do you start to see, increased adoption? Like, is it like, hey, it's signed and it goes into law, January 1, and then you have, notaries that are looking to go through that, authentication process to sign up and do that? Or is there a wait? And do you have to do targeted marketing efforts around, bringing those folks onto your platform? And then how many notaries do you have available on your platform?
The notary the notary world they're a special breed of people. They're very intertwined with each other. They're very tight-knit communities. So there's all these groups out there of people you can put, hey, I'm with NotaryLive, and I'm now taking on New York notaries. And then within seconds, there'll be thousands of them sign up with you. So the notaries themselves are very, I'm exaggerating there, but they're very, they're involved. They know what's going on at all times. They take their jobs very seriously. As far as an adoption rate from the companies, it's kind of slow. We don't see a massive uptick in companies, signing up with us, because, like I said before, most people that are aware of Ron at this point, most people are aware that they can already do it. They don't need to wait for their states to adopt it. So that doesn't have too much of an impact on things. But still, you do see that. That's one of our most common things. We do see adoption after that, but not at a crazy high rate like you might think. And as far as marketing efforts go, like I said, you could just go to a few Facebook groups and say, hey, we're taking on some new notaries, and we literally have thousands of notaries in our network, thousands of them. The last I checked, it was like 5,000, I think it was. So
oh wow,
yeah, there's quite a few, and some of them don't do much. They might notarize 1 or 2 documents a year, and some of them will literally notarize 100 documents a day or more. So some are more active ones. I think that the most I've ever seen was about 150 in a single day. So yeah, it's a very wide-ranging community there, and in a lot of different ways.
And so we say the word on demand, Ron services. So that has a very different meaning to a lot of different people. We live in a society of instant gratification. So when you say on-demand notary, if I want to get my document notarized now, what does that mean to me? Even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, you as an individual, that you can get a document notarized at 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve if you'd like, within minutes. We have notaries on demand 24/7 sitting by waiting to notarize a document. Think of it sort of like the Uber model, where we connect notaries to signers that need them. We also have our own staff to make sure that we keep that consistent coverage, but we're definitely on demand for sure, and the wait time is minimal. It could be a few. Depends on if we suddenly had a massive rush at 3 in the morning on Christmas Eve, you might be waiting for a little while. But most of the time, we try to keep the coverage consistent to whatever time frame that we're looking at here. But so it's not usually that long. We're talking a few minutes at most.
So what about a scenario where if you and I are needing to notarize a document, you're in New York, I'm in Dallas, and you initiate the notary, you do your part. I'm not available at that point in time. We've had crazy storms here. I'm out of power. I'm, trying to figure out what to do. What happens then? Do you have to wait for that session? Do I have to schedule it, or what happens then in that scenario?
There's actually a couple different things that you can do there, but to answer your specific question there, we have what we call our daisy chain solution, where Nate can go through and say that Charles is not available at this time, but Nate is. Nate, you can do your session, and at the very end, it will forward it automatically to Charles and say, hey, Charles, you were supposed to sign this, but you weren't available then. So here, now, whenever you are available, go ahead and sign it. So think of it like two notarizations on top of each other. So it is two different sessions, two different notaries involved, but it's the same document. So the person that's now requesting this document to be notarized, they get a fully executed document, when both signers are finished. We also have a new feature, though, that allows you to be, you can notarize remotely. You can have multiple participants signing remotely in the same session. So you have three different solutions. You can either be all on the same device, essentially, like you're all in the same location at the same time, or you can be multiple locations or multiple devices at the same time, or just come and go as you please. Whoever's available now, great. If not, you can get it when you're ready.
Awesome. Very, very, very cool. So in a situation where, I'm a law office and I have a notary in my office, and we don't want to print out all these documents and, have the notary stamp it, then, have to redigitize it. So do you guys handle that type of scenario where I have a notary, can they become, on your platform, and we just select, hey, I want Denise to do all of my notaries?
Yeah, you can. Actually, we kind of recommend that sometimes because, so you can bring your own notary, and you can assign any notary that you want. You might I want my notary Jane to notarize this, or maybe you want our notaries, but you only want a specific panel of them. You only want Spanish-speaking notaries from Florida. You can select, you can kind of customize what you want from our pool as well. So, so in a situation like that, like you just mentioned, if it's a coworker of yours notarizing your document, you don't have to scan your ID. Your coworker knows who you are. So our system actually allows people to come through who could be, a credible witness, essentially, or personally known to the notary, to say that because I know who Nate is, I don't need to scan his ID. He doesn't have to scan his ID, so it makes it easier for you. You literally just click a couple buttons and you're in the session with your notary Jane. So we recommend that sometimes, just because it's an easier flow for you if you have that person, obviously.
Awesome. No, that's very cool. I think that's something that most people aren't aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think of innovation in notary, where do you see that going? What's the future of that look like? What are some of the things that you guys are really excited about? Just walk through some of those things, because it's really exciting times we're living in terms of innovation and AI and things like that.
Yeah, well, AI is obviously, that can help companies all over the place in several different areas. We could, for example, you might have some sort of AI that reads the document to say, hey, this is, I'm going to summarize this, but you need to, I think you need to sign right here. Make sure you don't miss that. Things like that. So auto tagging, AI, things like that. There's all kind. We can go on for hours talking about AI and all the benefits that it could have. But really, the key thing that is adoption. We're at the forefront of this, Ron. Like you said before, most people don't even know that you can do this. Having adoption, into this technology is going to help it. It's going to help, iron out the kinks that people might, maybe they have some hesitation around something because of one particular thing. But if everybody's asking for that one thing, well, now we have more motivation within our industry itself to get that done for them, whether it's pass legislation or change technology so that it's more efficient for them, whatever the case is. But adoption is really the key thing here, in the sense that we're so new into this industry.
No matter how great your product is, if people don't know about it or know that it's even a thing to know about, right? That's always kind of the catch-22. What's the famous saying of the 2000s? You don't know what you don't know. And so it's definitely really true in this and anything that's part of the, I'll call it the regulatory compliant digital revolution, because that is a very nuanced world in general. So definitely understand that perspective. I think it might be beneficial. We have a recording of our actual of our solution. It's not ready for release yet. We're probably just a couple of days away from finalizing our full development, but excited to show you guys that. So let me share my screen, and we'll pause and kind of give you some color commentary on certain aspects of it. But I think you mentioned talking about your tech and how important it was. We got development, after a couple of kickoff and knowledge transfer calls, we got development wrapped up pretty quickly for the MVP, and we're excited to talk through about the roadmap. MVP, for those that don't know, that aren't knowing product guys like myself, is a minimal viable product, or as I like to call it, minimally lovable product. And so we'll showcase that to you guys right now, actually. So let me go ahead and share this. And then you should be able to see my screen. And so I'm just going to go ahead and press play and then kind of walk you guys through it. So this is following the standard Foxit eSign upload of a document process. So from here you have, you see that, we're just selecting a document and picking it out. So the one thing that you will notice here is that we have added an additional label for connect with a notary. So, instead of enforcing a signing sequence or enabling in-person signing, we have a new option to, connect with the notary. And so, in the document preparation, you'll be able to take advantage of that, and that will start invoking all the cascading effects of the workflows to go through that notary process. So right here, we'll add a notary. And then we'll add a couple of additional signers to this as well, just to showcase that you can have multiple signers, whether they're there in person or not, like Josh and I had spoken about earlier. So from here, you're going to hit the next. Once you have all your signers there, you're going to get one more final view of your document. If you need to add any additional fields, it could be whatever, calculated fields, whatever. And then from here now, you're going to be moving into the notary workflow, and you're going to select join session. And so once you're joined session, Josh, I'll let you kind of take it over and talk about what you guys do at this phase.
Sure. So this is just a little get started page. Let the user know what to expect. Not much functionality here.
All right. They're going to go ahead and hit next.
Yes. Perfect. Here's where you would either add or remove signers, but in this case, they're coming in with the signers information already gathered. You can tell us who is with you right now, and if they're not with you, are they going to be doing it later, or are they doing it from a different device? So you would, in this case, they're all present, which means they're all with you on the you're essentially all on the same device in this example here.
Yep. And the cool thing is, obviously, if you're pulling from your address book from, customers or people that you've signed things with frequently, you shouldn't have any issues. But if you're creating a new person to do a signing experience with, and maybe perhaps you misspelled their name wrong or whatever, you left the S off of James, you can go ahead and edit that, and it will update the record as well. And so that gives you just one more final green light to go through that process. So we'll go ahead and press play. You'll see the signers are there, they're present. And then from here, it's going to ask you to allow access to your camera or your microphone. And the cool thing is, with our initial launch of this, we'll also support the notary on mobile devices as well. And so if you've gone to any websites on your computer or your phone that, for the first time and it needs access to your camera or something like that, there is always that notification to grant that access. And so you would hit OK, and then, it would, ask you to, approve that. And if you, didn't hit OK, then you could go into your settings and then approve that anyway. But that's just a common web and mobile safety protocols that are in place today. So it's going to check your camera. It's going to do your hardware check. And then from there, you're ready to rock and roll. And so right here is where it would actually call a notary. But at this point in time, they were busy doing other people's notaries and we didn't want to bother them. So, yeah, but that's a real complete end-to-end solution. And then now let's showcase, once that notary session has been done, we will return you back to our eSign platform. And then you'll see real quickly here that it takes you back there. And then now the audit trail that you have with an eSign now also shows that the envelopes have been sent for notarization, and it shows when it was done, and then it shows when the notary was completed and for who it was completed for. So now you're able to get that audit trail for the notary like you would for your e-signature, all in that same workflow. And yeah, really excited about that. I think this is probably the first time you've seen this end-to-end solution, Josh. What are your thoughts?
I love it. Looks great. Love
awesome.
it. You guys coming along quickly. That's great. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So we got that done. All right. Let me move this back over here. Cool. I think we can open up some questions to the audience. And then we can, kind of do some summary at the end there. But what questions do we have from the audience? Micah, Charles, anyone want to share the questions? One question coming in, the notary stamp. What does it look like? Does that differ state by state, Josh, or is it just a digital stamp that, walk us through that. That's a good question.
Sure. It does vary a little bit, but not by much. It's pretty much this. It looks very similar to what you would expect a traditional notary stamp to look like. You can either have the circular, version, or like the rectangle. Ours is a rectangle because some states that do require it to be a certain format require it to be that rectangle format. So we just kind of adopt that across the board. So it's a rectangle format. It says all the information that you would normally see in a traditional stamp. In addition to that, it also says that it was notarized online, so that people are aware that that it wasn't done traditional means. On the bottom of the document, there is the digital certificate information. It shows all not all of it. It shows a lot of what the audit trail has in it as well, but it's right there as the last additional page on the document. There's also a QR code on that. So if this document's ever papered out for whatever reason, there's a QR code and a link on that last page that allows the user to go back to us to view the digital version of it. So for whatever reason, if you think maybe this papered version has been altered in any way, we always have the authoritative copy. So you can always come back to us at any point and we'll give that to you as well. And again, there's that certificate at the bottom. It also, it's embedded in the stamp. So either way, that it was done through us online. You can always come back to us and we'll give you the original copy.
Awesome. We're obviously getting a lot of questions related to cost. I think we'll answer those in just a moment. My question to you, traditional notary services, if I do a Google search for local notaries, in my area, I see prices from, $35 to $50, kind of all over the place. Certain banks will go ahead and, give their members that, but then there's the sunken cost of having to put pants on and drive. I don't want to do that. So what is, compared to, brick and mortar traditional, in-person notary, what is the typical cost for them and savings if there are compared to using, the remote versions?
Yeah. So, it's a great question, but it's also a really common way of looking at it. Like from your own personal perspective, like I said, you gotta go to a bank, best case, right? Or if you want to be a little bit lazy, you call a mobile notary. Mobile notaries could charge hundreds of dollars, right? We've seen literally $1,000 because someone got called on Christmas Day. So we've seen the prices are just all over the place. But really the key value there is to the businesses, right? So if you need notary services as part of your own transaction, you can't complete because it's not whatever. How much is that worth to you? Like, is it
very good point.
gladly pay anything to get that off your plate, to move on, to get these transactions pumping out quicker? So we charge, an additional $25 per session. There's obviously discounted rates for higher volume users.
Yep.
I think that's
and people are asking, so for our Foxit customers, there isn't an additional cost to have access to the NotaryLive services. And it's just the fee to use their service, so that $25. So that will be available at launch. We'll have ad hoc on-demand purchases available to be used at any time. And then after that, we're going to be creating monthly packages where you can actually get a pretty significant discount by pre-purchasing, X number of notary sessions per month. So those will all be shared here very shortly, but no additional cost to actually leverage the service. It's available. It's a value add that we want to bring, but there is, the cost of actually having a document notarized, and the notary's time, and the licensure and the compliance. So, but I think, like you said, being able to do that in my workflow, not have to leave anywhere, not have any sunken costs for going out and driving, or cost of delay in doing business. I think those value propositions mean so much more than just the price of the service itself.
Yeah, and a lot of times, you're going to defer that cost anyway. But for your, even if you just offer it as an option to your user, hey, here's two choices. You choose which one you want to do. And you'll be surprised at how often they pay a little bit extra to go through us than to get it free from their bank, and definitely not paying hundreds to get a mobile notary to their house. So,
yeah, no, definitely not that. Any other questions coming in from the audience? Oh, I see one. So I use Foxit for Salesforce. Is Notary Services going to be available there? I think as part of our phase 2 launch, it should be. The way that we've developed it, it's a part of that, document creation experience. So it should be something that we are able to invoke with that. So we'll kind of share a longer term roadmap, as we get further along with this initial launch. But it is something that we want to incorporate not only in our eSign platform online, but within our customer base who use both our editor solutions and our eSign solutions on our desktop app, on our Mac apps, on the editor cloud version. So we want to make sure that the customers that are using eSign across all of their workflows are going to be available to them in the workflow that they want to use it in. So that's something that's really important to us, and really harnesses our goal to solve problems in your workflows and not disrupt any of that. There's another question coming in. If you want to use it and be a notary for your company, how do you go about doing that?
I'm sorry, you broke up for me. Say it again.
Yeah, so if you want to use your service but be a notary on your platform for your company, how does that process work?
So you would sign up as a notary essentially, and we have you can, if you're using it as for a notary, if you're using it as a notary for yourself, then you would the fee structure changes a little bit there, obviously, because we're not paying a notary in that case. So it just discounts that rate essentially. But yeah, you can use it as a notary just for yourself. You have to sign up. The sign up's a little bit different there. We have to obviously offer your state. You have to have some technical requirements, upload your certificates to prove that you are a certified RON, things like that. But yeah, we do support that as well.
Awesome. Very cool. And any additional questions coming in, guys? I see there's a kind of flood of them, but I'm not seeing them all. Charles, Mike, any additional questions? For businesses or individuals considering implementing RON solutions for the first time, what advice or best practices would you offer to help ensure a smooth and successful adoption process? I think that's a great question. And then what are some of the biggest pitfalls you see? So yeah, Josh, what's your perspective on that? Because I have tons of opinions on the eSign side of things as well. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, your own needs, and, are you needing some streamlined like API solution where you don't want to, you want to be as hands off as you possibly can, or are you just looking to facilitate different transactions? So, the key thing there is for us to understand the business, right? Like what are you needing to use RON for? Like tell us who you are and we'll figure out this best solution for you and kind of, present that to you. But as far as onboarding is concerned, Foxit's obviously a massive company, and they've got a lot of things to maneuver in order to adopt our API, and they're doing it in a few weeks. So the process of doing that is obviously not very complicated, and that's one of the more extreme cases of adopting our technology into their own. So most users don't need much, as far as how long did it take you to get using Foxit? It's kind of the same process, right? Like you just start using it, really. So as far as common pitfalls and misconceptions, I don't know if there's too many there. I don't think. I think that the biggest one that we see is like I was saying earlier, as far as well, my state doesn't accept this, or I'm worried that whoever I'm using or whoever I'm sending these to won't accept it, and that's just not really a thing anymore. It was happening a lot before the pandemic, but since post-pandemic, for the most part, people that are accepting these documents, which is usually some sort of government agency or larger company, they're at least aware of RON, if they're not using it themselves. So I don't think that's not too much of an issue anymore. And things that you recommend they avoid, using traditional notaries. I think that you need to use RON. Avoid that. No, I'm just kidding. No, not really. Like I said, it's pretty cut and dry. I'm a big fan of having options. Let this be an option to your users.
Yeah.
If they like it, great. If they don't, whatever. It's always a nice choice for certain people that would rather put convenience over anything else. So
Yeah.
As a business, I would definitely recommend that you at least offer it as an option, if nothing else.
And that's a good segue to a couple of other questions. So one of them comes in is, do you pay per envelope or per notarized document? I believe, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, if I have 10, 15 signatures that are needed on a document, that's still just one session, correct?
Correct. You're paying for the notary's time. So the notary's time is per session, essentially. We do have slight differences, but for the most part, you're just paying per session.
Gotcha. Exactly. That's what I thought. And then so that answers that. And then another question: can you forward the cost of the notary to the signer? So I think for me, there's two ways to look at that. One, if I'm a services organization and I have a customer and I'm offering this service, that is something that I could charge them for as part of the invoicing process. The other side of it is if, me and my friends are, buying an investment property and, we're just, buddies doing this informally and we have to sign these documents, and I find, NotaryLive and I initiate the service, beyond getting a Venmo request from them, can they pay for their portion of it? Is that possible? Like today, like if you and me need to do it, like I pay mine, you pay yours, or like, how does that work?
We don't have a shared payment situation currently. That's not something we get asked very often, but you can defer the payment to someone else. So that
okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that's probably more what they were getting at. And so on our MVP launch, we don't have the payment deferment. That'll be a part of our next release. So it's something that we are working on, but we wanted to get the solution out there as quickly as possible to start bringing value to you guys. And so that'll be a part of our next release after the initial launches, to be able to defer the cost to someone else to pay for that service. And then last question that came in, they were busy. They asked if, he's a notary, they're a notary for their own law firm, and they want to use, your platform, but them as a notary. And you said that is possible. So they would just need to, go to NotaryLive to go through that process of doing that within your infrastructure.
Yeah. Signing up as a notary is a different sign up than as a user. Obviously, as a user, you just use it. As a notary, we have to verify credentials. We do white gloves, onboarding as far as training you to use the software, answering any questions that you may need, have answered. So it's a little bit different setup for a notary than it is for anybody else, but still, it is something that we support.
Awesome, cool. I guess, where the questions I think are slowing down. We've answered a lot of really great questions. Josh, if you had some closing remarks on, working with Foxit, NotaryLive, and just notary in general, what would you like to impart on this audience?
Yeah, it's just, I think that for the most part, our biggest hesitation now with people is that they're not really sure how to get started or how to present this to someone else in their, decision makers in their organization to say, we need to use this. But like I said, I'm a big fan of just try it out. Just see what happens. Just use it once or twice. If you don't like it, whatever. But that doesn't happen, right? Everyone that uses it comes to depend on it. They rely on this now as part of their, as their systems are dependent on that now, that new infrastructure of things, because it's that good. It's that consistent and available, for them. So like I said, just try it out. See if you like it. That's, I think that and as far as our partnership goes, it makes trying it out that much simpler. You can just, it's a click of a button within your system. You just click this one new option. So I'm saying one new. I know you guys have 50,000 options, available to you guys in Foxit, but it's an additional one that I think that, a lot of people could take advantage of if they need to.
Awesome. Great answer. Another great question actually came in, one that I actually personally love. So I'm going to read this one out. How do partnerships contribute to innovation within your company? So I think, I'll answer from my perspective, and then, Josh, I'll defer to you. I think you touched on it at the very beginning. So for me, from a product perspective, we have a roadmap, we have strategic goals. And as part of that, there are obviously gaps in what we can bring to solve, a myriad of different problems. And so partnerships like this really allow us to continue down the path of innovating, because we're not trying to figure out how we solve these other problems. We partner with people that are doing that. And so now, instead of, spending time over here to do something which is valuable, but might not be where we're trying to go, we can still continue to go down that path, bring in partners, reduce our time to market by 12 months minimum, in this notary example, and bring you value almost immediately, while still maintaining our focus on, innovation and things like that. So I think for me, from a partnership perspective, I look at what are gaps in our current workflows, what are the major pain points that our customers are talking about, and what are those of those two scenarios that aren't really in our wheelhouse or in the direction that we're trying to go, and identifying those partners to fill those gaps so we can work together. And, the great thing about working with NotaryLive, I don't have to maintain anything related to NotaryLive, to Notary Services, compliance. I don't have to handle any of that. And then just like, with Josh and NotaryLive on their end, they don't have to worry about being, compliant with electronic signatures. They don't have to worry about all those things, because we are managing that for them. And so I think going down the partnership route allows us to do more things while maintaining focus on innovation and driving new product development, which is really where we're trying to focus on.
Yeah, focusing on what we do this best. So let's keep doing that and not doing these other little things that we could probably offload to somebody else. Yeah, it's a great way of putting it. Reallocating resources. That's definitely that would have been my answer too. But to further this, I think that having good partners, especially like Foxit and Nate and all his crew. First of all, we have a lot of partners, right? And it's not that often that you get a good partner that's this excited about something. We're both really excited about this partners. That you feed off that energy, and it helps you come in, every day and work a little extra hard, because you want to keep that energy going, just in you. But in addition to all that, it also is good because when you're in your own organization, you start to get a little bit siloed in your vision, right? So when you start to bring in this other partner that you communicate really well with, you start to hear their ideas, like little things they maybe we thought about it, but because of the way you phrased your wording on that gave me an idea that I wouldn't have thought about if we didn't just have that conversation. So little things like that, or maybe they have a question, hey, do I have the ability to do this, whatever this is, well, no, you don't, but that's a good idea. We could actually add that pretty quickly for you. Let's just do it. Let's just give them that, we're all excited here. Let's just give them this feature that they're asking for. And now we have that feature for everybody. So good partners are I don't say they're hard to come by, but partnerships this good are hard to come by. So I'll leave it with that.
No, and I think that one point you made, I'll just reinforce, because it is so important, because we've connected you to, a translation partner of ours, right? Because it's, really, they're our partner, you're our partner, and you both kind of had this need to fill. And it was oh, well, we work well with both you guys. And that's the other part I love about, partnerships, is being able to, have other partners grow their business by connecting with partners, and we just being the cheerleaders to make all that happen. So I love that serendipitous discovery of innovation just through like-minded people that we're working with. So yep. So yeah, I totally agree. That's our favorite part. And then the wine doesn't hurt either.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Charles, I'll turn it back over to you. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. And thank you everyone for your time and participation.
Yes, thank you all. Thanks, Charles.
That's all from me. And if that's all from you and all from everybody else, I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful and happy, what is today, Thursday?
Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
We're like a day away from the weekend. So enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Good talking to you, Nick. Thanks, Charles. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.